So students, one of the great things to have set up on your own computer now that we have the ability to virtualize machines is an environment in which you can practice the things or go look at the things that you learn in your CIS classes, for example, or those of you in a professional environment setting up a test network. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through the process of setting up a Windows Server 2012 R2 Edition server, turning it into Active Directory, into an Active Directory server, and then adding a Windows 8 client. Hey, we might even get crazy and add this Windows 10 client that you see on the screen here. So, basically to start the process, we need a virtualization software. Now I'm going to demonstrate this in VMware because students at Central Oregon Community College have the ability to get VMware for just $10. A one-time fee of $10. They do have to reinstall the software every year, but that's the virtualization workstation version. And they also have the ability to get the ESX server and a bunch of other great things. So let's take a look at how we install a virtual machine. And then once we install the virtual machines, we'll install a Server 2012, we'll install Windows 8, and then we'll go ahead and configure to make sure the two can communicate with each other. So for the most part, creating basic virtual machines is really easy. I'm going to go to the Home tab here and simply say Create New Virtual Machine. So I'm going to use the typical. I can go through and highly customize it, change memory, change all those things. I tend to just use the typical and then add memory based on how many virtual machines I'm running, how much memory is on my computer. So in this case, I'll go ahead and use the ISO file. I'm going to browse to my software folder. I'm going to use the lab install as the example. Here's the ISO, so I'll click on it and choose next. Now at this point, it's going to ask me for the Windows product key, and I actually have that key. I'll put it in last. So I'll personalize Windows. I'll go Eric Magidson. I'll give it a password. I always like to use the same complex password, of which I change some things based on the machine. I'm going to go ahead and pause this while I put in the code because I don't want the code on the video, and then I'll choose next and take you right to the next screen. So at this point, I want to give the virtual machine a machine name, and I'm going to call it the MIIM. That stands for Master IT in Minutes. It's a little thing I do on my videos underneath. MIIM, it's going to be a domain controller 0001, and I'll explain why I may potentially want 9,900 domain controllers. Of course, in this case, I wouldn't have that many servers. That would be a huge network. But when we talk about consistency in naming conventions, I might have MIIM DSK 0001, consequently the Master IT in Minutes Desktop 0001, and I may be in a network environment that has 9,999 desktops, for example. So location of the files, I'm going to keep this as default. It's going to create a default folder in my documents. I'll go ahead and use this. Now, what I like to do is I like to store the virtual disk as a single file. I'm on a solid state drive, so I'm not going to, decrease performance. You can see why splitting it makes it easier, to move the virtual machine to another computer. It does. I don't plan on doing that. So I'll just choose next. It gives me the configuration, and I choose finish. Now at this point, it's going to open up, use the ISO, and install. So I'll pause this so we don't create a big long video as it goes through the process. Anytime there's input, I'll bring you back. So as you can see, it started the process. It's copying Windows. Now, these files, again, the reason you're seeing this speed, if you're doing this from an optical drive, it's going to take a longer period of time. I also have this whole computer is solid state, so this is a really quick process over, having all the files on a traditional SATA drive, for example. So as you can see, it's going to copy, it's going to install the features, install any updates it may have, and it'll finish up. So as you can see, it's a pretty quick process. Now, Control-Alt-Delete, if just a quick note, if I press Control-Alt-Delete on my keyboard, it's actually going to do that for the base operating system. So if you notice up here, I can send the Control-Alt-Delete. At this point, I can go ahead and use that password that I put in to, let me get on the virtual machine. There we go. To log into the computer, and this machine is ready to go. So I'll create another video on installing Windows 8. Heck, maybe we'll even do a Windows 10. I have one, as you can see, but we'll do another one. And we'll be ready to then put Active Directory into here and move forward with creating a test environment that we can use as we further in this class. Take care.